welcome to my channel. Today is one of those days where I have been thinking a lot about spiritual awakenings, healing, and the hero's journey in tarot. So I thought I would pop on here and have a small discussion, which you guys can watch later. Watch it, don't watch it. You can comment on the video after the live and let me know if you guys relate to this. So first and foremost, I'm not feeling well. I'm a little under the weather with my allergies. So if you see me sniffling, that's why. The hero's journey in tarot is basically the whole story of the tarot, if you don't know that. And the reason that I'm bringing this up on here, talking about healing, whatever it is that you're healing, and my cats are fighting in the background, is because a lot of the times people seek out solace, they seek out different spiritual avenues when they're feeling lost, when they're feeling alone, when they're feeling sad, when they're feeling like when people feel as though they need assistance or guidance, or if they're struggling with something. And this is a lot of the times what brings people to the tarot. And the question, if you have seen the headline, the question is, when does the healing stop? When does it stop? When do I know that I'm done, that I can stop focusing on that? When does the hero's journey begin? When does my healing stop? So these are two kind of different things. So in tarot, the hero's journey, that's basically the whole story of the tarot. Everybody is the main character of their life, the movie of their life. And that's what the hero's journey is. You are all on your own different healing journey. Okay, and the hero's journey basically starts with the Fool, right? So if we're talking about healing our soul and or ancestral trauma via the major arcana of the tarot, we start with the Fool, who knows nothing and basically is like the baby, and then we progress to the Magician and the High Priestess and the Hierophant, and so and to the end, which is the World, which is when we basically release control to the universe, right? We surrender. And the thing about healing is that it can come in different forms. You can be healing from an injury. You can be healing from heartbreak. You can be healing from all kinds of different things, from childhood trauma, right? You could be healing, like I said before, ancestral trauma. And it can be exhausting because you wake up and you think, okay, what do I need to do today to feel better? What do I need to do today to be on my healing journey? If you're aware, if you haven't even gotten to that place in your life where you realize that you're on the hero's journey and that maybe there's some awakening that you need to do, that's going to be the first step. A lot of you guys maybe don't even realize that there are some things that you need to work on, right? That's going to be the first step. But the thing is that this idea of healing is a concept that is really not discussed when it comes to people who haven't experienced grief, people who haven't experienced an injury. Everybody's going to go through some kind of healing in their life. And the thing is that it doesn't ever end. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. We go through phases. Life is cyclical. And sometimes there is no more healing to do. Sometimes you just have to surrender. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And if you have seen any of my videos before, you know that I talk about meditation. I talk about meditation, I talk about Buddhism, I talk about all that because these are the things that one does when they're trying to heal in a spiritual aspect, in a spiritual sense, or, some kind of mental thing that they have going on, anxiety, we'll turn to meditation. We'll turn to our spirituality. So the thing about meditation is that there's nothing to do. There is nothing to do. You sit and you surrender. So at some point in time, we just surrender to the way things are. There's nothing left for us to do. We've cried all the tears. We've experienced the ups and the downs of whatever place that we're healing from. We sit, you surrender, and that's it. The healing journey doesn't ever really end necessarily, but it doesn't mean that you're broken. It simply is a constant reset that we have to do in our lives, because if from a Buddhist perspective, taking away the hero's journey and tarot for a minute, we have to surrender to the fact that to be human is to suffer. That's one of like the first steps in Buddhism. So it's a never-ending journey. It's a never-ending journey to remind ourselves to be in our body, or to refrain from being hard on ourselves, to admit to character defects. It's a never-ending journey. And sometimes we do just have to surrender and say, okay, this healing journey for me right now is to just sit and to just be. Because a lot of the times we want to be physically doing something. We're told that if we're not doing cold plunges, if we're not journaling, if we're not going to the gym, if we're not constantly in pursuit of some sort of self-development, that we're not healing, we're not doing right by ourselves, we're not doing better. And in a sense, yes, it is this never-ending story, this never-ending cycle of work that we do for ourselves. But sometimes we surrender and we just sit. And it's not necessarily that we're even healing anything from the Buddhist perspective. We're just being with it. We're just here. We're just existing. We're being with our suffering. We're living with it. And it's okay to just be like, you know what? Right now, I don't necessarily need to do anything for my healing. Right now, I'm gonna chill, and I'm gonna be okay with where I am in life. And I'm not gonna attach my happiness to another person. I talk about this all the time. I talk about non-attachment all the time. And that will alleviate some of my suffering. Okay, so if anybody is out there healing from any kind of anything, all right, barring actual physical pain or whatever, even with physical pain sometimes, just be with it. Just be with it. Be with what you have where you are. You don't have to feel like you're constantly having to do something. Yes, there is a time and a place for us to do all the cold plunges and do all the journaling and go to the therapy and things like that. Okay, and in that essence, healing never ends. But let's just surrender. Let's just be with what we have right now and try and be contented with that. Going back to Buddhism again, us having this desire for something else, healing, whatever, idea we have in our head of what healing looks like, can actually cause suffering, because more than likely you're probably going on Instagram and you're probably comparing yourself with someone else or something like that. So let's just surrender. Let's just allow it to be the way it is and try and be contented with what we have and understand the lessons that we're experiencing with surrendering to the divine, surrendering in what we are and what we have, and not attaching to anything else. Now, I also want to talk about spiritual awakenings and how that can be cleverly disguised as mental illness. This is obviously an opinion of mine, that I have that I've been working through. And if you've never heard of the telepathy tapes, go watch the telepathy tapes, because the telepathy tapes, I haven't watched it myself, but I already kind of know of the idea, and talking about anyone who has a diagnosis. I think that the telepathy tapes talks about autism and how it links to telepathy. And so, tying all of this in together, healing, tarot, spiritual awakening, and quote unquote mental illness or mental unrest or anxiety, anything like that, because a lot of that is a spiritual awakening. It's alerting your soul, your spirit, to the fact that you're becoming more aware of yourself. Awareness is really kind of the first step. Awareness of your subconscious urges, awareness of your dark night of the soul, awareness of the fact that there is something that you need to heal in the first place. And that can actually be very, very uncomfortable, right? The spiritual awakening can be very, very uncomfortable, and it can sometimes look to other people like you're having a mental illness, or like you're experiencing something, or you're having a diagnosis. But the thing about that is that these things are not discussed from a spiritual perspective. And if you look at the spiritual side of that, it's actually an awareness of the divine, of the spirit world, of mysticality. Because there was one point in time when people would look at, intuitives or psychic or something like that, like you have a problem, you have a mental illness or something like that, right? So the thing about it is, if you're struggling in that kind of way, insofar as like maybe you have anxiety, or maybe you're neurodivergent, go and watch the telepathy tapes. And the reason that I bring that up is because of course, obviously, get help, get treatment, talk to someone, do your healing journey, but don't allow necessarily yourself to feel shame or to feel bad, because this is a spiritual awakening. This is you realizing that your hero's journey actually is linked to you overcoming these senses. I want to call it senses, okay? Because it's a sense, and it's a spiritual awakening. So that is part of the hero's journey, and it isn't necessarily discussed at length as much as it should be. So we go from the Fool. This is the hero's journey in tarot. We go from the Fool, we go to the Magician, we go to the High Priestess, and we go through all the major arcana, all the way to the World, which again, that's what I was talking about before. Surrendering to the divine, surrendering to your life circumstances, doing what you can to kind of alleviate the suffering that we experience being on this earthly plane. So yes, it's something that maybe never ends, but that doesn't mean that you can't surrender to your life circumstances. Surrender. Allow yourself to be, allow yourself to experience who you are, and to experience the joy that can come with accepting yourself. Because I feel like when we talk about healing, it isn't ever discussed like, when am I done? When am I good? When can I just be? You can just be whenever you want. In fact, I think that's an important part of healing, is accepting who you are, accepting where you are, and being okay with it. Especially in today's day and age of people claiming that they have self-love, but then also having plastic surgery done, also talking about their morning routine. Like, there is a lot of contradictions in today's society. So I just want to talk about it on here. I know this is a bit of a rant, and it is. It's a rant. It's a casual kind of discussion. There's this surrender, and I'm going to go back to the surrender. There's this surrender, this self-acceptance that comes in when you realize I really don't have to jump through all these hoops. I really don't have to do all these things. I can just be okay. I can just sit here. I can just experience joy by being with myself and not having to be so hard on myself that I have to go and do all these things or buy all these products or keep up with the Kardashians, be like them. Just be like water and surrender, because you are, at the end of the day, we are all part of the divine, or whatever you believe in. And my belief is that we are all part of the divine. We're all angels, we're all part of the bigger picture. And in that sense, we're sort of perfectly imperfect. And instead of thinking about I have to heal, I have to do better, I have to buy all these books and do all these things and whatever like that, I'm accepting where I am. I'm accepting myself. I am accepting the flaws. And I'm surrendering to the fact that I am whatever your higher power is, source, God. I am made by my creator. So in that essence, my imperfections are a part of my hero's journey. And so it's just another concept, right? And if you guys are out there, potentially you're coming to tarot, not because you had a spiritual awakening. Maybe you had a spiritual awakening and now you're into tarot and astrology, or maybe your heart is broken. Maybe you're wanting love. But the thing is that you're perfect the way that you are. Your hero's journey includes whatever you deem as unhealed within you. That's your hero's journey. That dark night of the soul is the key to you kind of succeeding in your hero's journey and you like winning at life. So anyways, in a nutshell, the healing journey doesn't exist and doesn't end. We are all perfect beings the way that we are. The most important thing is to remember to have the awareness of things that you can do to be in your higher self, which I think is more important than saying that I need to heal, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. You don't necessarily need to do anything. In fact, just surrender. That's more important than anything else. And things will come to you. Realizations will come to you. Changes will come to you. Especially because, now this is something that I personally learned from a therapist, right? Instead of doing the thing that we think that we need to do to be better, we can just surrender. We can just sit. We can just meditate, or we can just be with ourselves in that moment, because we are human and our flaws aren't really flaws. Our flaws are a part of our grand design. They're a part of the key to our hero story. So I hope that my rant kind of made sense. And it's a bit of a philosophical idea that this healing, the healing never really ends, but it also never really starts, because it's all a grand design of our hero's journey, of our movie. Our life movie. It's all a part of that. So, and just as we say, before, if you guys are right now maybe experiencing some suffering or experiencing some pain, the best thing that you can do for yourself, just be with it. Just surrender. Just sit with it. And yes, it's great to journal and to do all that, but observe it. Be the observer. And within that, you will find some clarity, you will find some relief. And with time, it will change because everything is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. Everything in life is impermanent. The minute something starts, it's already going to end. And this is a philosophical idea that maybe some of you guys can embrace. So everything is impermanent, and what you're experiencing right now, it's going to change. You know, this too shall pass. And hopefully that will give you some relief from whatever it is that you're trying to heal through, that you're trying to work through, whatever type of suffering or whatever type of obstacles that you have in your life. Just remember that it's a part of your hero's journey, and it's a part of what makes you who you are. And it's lovely and it's beautiful. Okay, you guys, I'm going to get on out of here. I'll see you guys at the next live. I hope that this discussion elevated your consciousness in some type of way, shape, or form. You can like, you can subscribe, you can do all that, and I'll see y'all later.